Good evening and welcome to Showtime TV, episode 10 of A Conversation with Men of Color. I'm your host, Omar Rashada. I have three strong, courageous brothers here this evening for episode 10. So the show should be on fire. It should be a great show this evening. I have a newly elected state rep in the 7th District, Larry Lambert. I have Dre Kareem and I have Enrico X. Gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the That's Nice program.
Good evening. Thanks for the invite.
No problem, no problem. Okay, let's start with Enrico, then we'll move to Dre, then let's go with Larry. I want you gentlemen just introduce yourselves, say what your career is, what your job is, the education, and any family background. So we'll start off with Enrico.
Yes, sir. My name is Enrico X. I'm a member of the Nation of Islam. I'm one of the co-founders or partners of the 10,000 Fearless here in Delaware. I'm also a GED recipient in 1994. I went to secondary school for massage therapy. I'm self-employed also in home remodeling. I'm a community activist. I'm also a part of a few other community organizations, community action, as well as Men of Value. I'm just a gentleman that offers himself up to be a part of solving solutions and bringing about a better idea and structure to our community. So I'm open to change and working with others to bring about what is needed. So when I seen the conversation come up about being a part of this, I knew I had to be a part because I was one that was inside of that prison industrial complex. So I know somewhat of what goes on and what is also needed to help brothers that find themselves incarcerated. Because sometimes what we do is we forget about those gentlemen that are inside of the prison system. So I give myself to some of those brothers inside the prison complex so that they don't feel that they're left out. So that's what I have to offer tonight.
Okay, Dre.
Good evening. My name is Andre. I go by Dre. I'm a 1991 graduate of Concord High School. I currently am employed at the Port of Wilmington. I also am a security guard and also a culinary chef. I'm just thankful that you allowed me to join the conversation. Prior to me working at the port, I worked 8 years with the state of Delaware at the Newcastle County Detention Center and also at Fair School for Boys. That experience for me was I learned a lot, in that role as a counselor there. I just seen exactly how the system works and how it works for, unfortunately, how it doesn't work for young Black males. I've seen a lot of negatives, seen some positives, but unfortunately, a lot of negatives. But I'm here, I'm thankful that you allowed me to join in the conversation.
Okay, all right. And then if you can adjust your microphone, sometimes your voice is going in and out. But let me go to Larry. Okay, the new state rep. Congratulations, man. So let me ask you, when it was the final decision that you won, what was your immediate reaction?
Man, thanks so much for being for the invite, Omar. I really appreciate the invite. It's so nice to meet you, Enrico X, Dre Kareem. It's an honor to be on this panel with so many talented men that are really doing the work in the community. And for me, when I got the news that that I won, my main thought was that we won. You know, I'm a community guy. At the end of the day, it's about the community. It's about we. So I won on Tuesday, and as of yesterday, we were already discussing legislation around increasing the minimum wage. You know, for 2 years, I was co-chair of Delaware's Livable Wage Coalition, advocating, fighting for a livable wage. And we're in this COVID era where we call the people that are stocking our shelves, ringing up our groceries, cleaning our assisted living centers, we call them essential workers, but their compensation isn't essential. So at the end of the day, talk is cheap. If you're giving any business, any corporation, 40, 50 plus hours of your life per week, you should be able to live in economic dignity and not have to require, you know, the SNAP program to get food, not require state assistance to keep a roof over your head. We need legislators in office that value an honest hour of work, that value an honest week's work. That's why I ran for office. And the community I'm in is the wonderful 7th District. It's known as Claymont, the greater Brandywine 100 area, as well as the Ardens. I'm the first African American to win a local election north of the city limits of Wilmington. But it's not about me, it's about we, it's about all of us. I'm honored to be here with you gentlemen that do the work on the ground. I serve as co-chair of the Banking Desert Initiative, bringing banking, basic banking services into the Route 9 corridor, as well as South Bridge. I serve as a board member of the Remand Project with Dr. Donald Morton. I love that project. I was also recently invited to join the board for the Pathways to Apprenticeship, where young men and women that come from low-income backgrounds, as well as returning citizens, are put on a pathway to getting into the apprenticeship programs for the local unions. So it's not about what I want to do, what I plan to do. I've been doing the work. So for me, I'm here to learn, I'm here to talk, and I really just honor you guys. I appreciate everything you do for our communities.
Yeah, I want to ask you, gentlemen, you all mentioned that you were involved with community work. I mean, you volunteer your services to serve the youth, to serve the community, to serve the seniors, to help fellow brothers. I'm going to start with Larry, then move to Dre, then Enrico. What got you involved in wanting to do community service? Because there's a lot of people who sit in the background and talk and criticize, talking about they need to do this, they need to do that, but they themselves are not taking initiative to be involved in community service. In addition to that, there are those who say, look, man, if I ain't getting paid, I ain't doing nothing. So you tell me, just talk about why you decided to be involved in community work.
Yeah, that's an outstanding question. I remember when I was younger, I used to like to help out around the Boys and Girls Club. For a lot of us growing up in Wilmington and Claymont, the Boys and Girls Club was like a second home for us. I came up in the 80s and 90s. And one day I was helping out in the art room, and the art teacher told me that I was volunteering. And I said, what's that? And he said, it's when you help people out and you don't ask for anything back. And I thought, I like that. That's fun. I don't mind doing that. So I started volunteering regularly, and by the time I was 17, I was a guest on the Oprah Winfrey Show, May 10th of 98, for my volunteer work in the state of Delaware. I started some initiatives when I was in high school, and for me, volunteering isn't what I do, it's who I am. I love giving back. It fuels me. It fills me up. So for me, when I went through tough times growing up, I lost my parents and my big brother at a young age. It was mentors in the community that looked out for me, and they did it out of the kindness of their heart. So for me, you know, I love giving back. Like, for example, as we speak, one of my mentees borrowed my car to go to attend his uncle's funeral. So for me, it's really about just showing that love back. So it's giving back to a community that's given so much to me growing up.
Hey, Dre?
Yes, I like giving back. As I had mentioned, I do like to cook, and I have volunteered with the Food Bank of Delaware. I like giving out, feeding people, giving out food, and also cooking dinners and helping to serve people who are hungry and who need, something to eat. I'm looking to get more involved with the community in other ways, looking at some other things that, that'll suit my strengths and helping others. And, I'm glad to be on this panel because, I'm learning about other Black men in the community that I can link up with.
Right, definitely. It's called networking.
Yes.
Okay, Enrico.
Yes, sir. Of course, growing up, being in that street life, we didn't have mentors or we didn't have individuals that came to us and told us, well, that life you live in is not the right life, or gave us an out on what we could do other than that street life. Most of the time, what the older guys would do when we were coming up, they would, give us a package and, we would hit the block. So I end up serving time. And when I came home, I knew that I didn't want to go back. So my idea of not going back was serving my community in a better manner than I did that caused me to lose my freedom, as well as finding something to give me structure. And I found that in the Nation of Islam because it helped make a man out of me.
Mm-hmm.
As well as, in 1996, when the Honorable Minister Farrakhan asked us to take that pledge of what we were supposed to do when we came back into our communities, when we came home from the Million Man March. Of course, I wasn't at the Million Man March, but I watched it and I was able to hear that pledge. So when I was released from prison in 1996, I was able to remember the pledge we made, and I didn't want to find myself on the other side of that pledge.
Mm-hmm.
So again, bringing it up to time, and at 10/10/15 in Washington, D.C., the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan asked 10,000 fearless men and women to go into the community to bring about change and structure, getting in between the guns and the beefs. So I wanted to sacrifice and give my life to doing that because he's given his life to serve the community, and I wanted to be a part of what he was a part of because he was a great example for us and is a great example for us, and I wanted to be in his footsteps.
Right. Next week, I'm planning on doing a show on the topic of African American men in prison systems. So I want to stick with the prison system right quick. Rico, I want to go back to the day when you were sentenced to go to prison, and once those bars locked from behind you, and what was the feeling like being sentenced and then having to be locked up in prison, not only for yourself, but I know it must have been horrifying for your mother, your siblings. I mean, because it's not just the individual who gets locked up that's affected, it's his friends and family as well. And once you finish that question, I'm going to go to Dre and Larry if they want to comment on, at least all of us as African Americans have at least one family member, I would imagine, that they end up in the prison system. I mean, and that's a terrible thing to say. So I want to know, what is the direct correlation that results in so many of our brothers being locked up in prison? But I want to go with you, Enrico, and your personal experience.
Well, for me, I was a young brother. I found myself in prison because I wanted to hang out in the streets. Mm-hmm. It was a situation where I had a chance to go with my brother and go home or hang out with a friend, and it cost me my freedom because my friend did something, and me being in that area with him, they gave me aiding and abetting in the crime. So when I went to court and I found myself facing trial, you find out a lot about prison or the court system because you find out that it's not really a jury of your peers. Because I was a 17, 18-year-old young male, and everybody else that was on the jury was firemen, probation officers, and all of these different individuals that has experienced life on a higher level than I had at that time. All they seen was a young Black man coming in there, and they didn't know me as a person. All they know what was presented to them.
Right, right.
So when the judge sentenced me, he sentenced me to 7 years, 5 years mandatory. And all I could do was look back at my mother and let her know that I loved her and that I knew that I had to fight this charge that I had been found guilty of. So my time in prison gave me an opportunity to grow and become someone that knew that they did not want to see themselves locked away in prison again. So that growing time that I had in prison allowed me to be able to learn the system and then come out and find myself being one that was more sympathetic to brothers and sisters that may find themselves incarcerated. Because sometimes we prejudge people without really knowing how the system is, because we think everybody that go to prison because of something they've done, not always understanding that sometimes you could just be in the wrong place at the wrong time and you could be found guilty of a charge that you may not even had anything to do with. So that was a little of summing up how I found myself incarcerated, but I wasn't bitter about that. I used that as a tool to come out and be a better individual for my community. And that's what you see today.
Right. Okay, so Larry and Dre, you want to chime in terms of why is there so many, in your opinion, why is it there so many brothers because the prison is filled with a majority of Black men. I mean, unfortunate situation. So, I mean, what is the reason why?
Yeah, I'd like to just say that when I start working as a youth rehabilitation counselor with the state at Ferris and at the detention center, it opened my eyes to see a lot of reasons why a lot of young Black men get caught up in the system. Number one is the lack of parent being in their lives. You think about a young Black man, a young Black woman whose mother or father may be doing time themselves, and they're in the foster system, you know, and they just really don't have that parent, that mentor, you know, that person in their life that, you know, can keep them out of that type of life of having to fight and survive on the streets. They, you know, you really see, you know, a person, a young child who really has to fight out here to get what they want, and they may have to do some things that, you know, is not, you know, what would I say, law abiding, you know, they may have to break the law to get what they need, and they get caught up in the system. And then it becomes a revolving door and it leads into their adult life. Right. And, you know, we just need to have more mentors out here to help children, you know, so they won't, you know, go down that road.
Right, right. And Larry, you know, the sad thing about it is, you know, once someone is in prison and they got their record, man, they're trying to find a job, they're trying to find decent housing, and they be denied as a result of the prison background.
Exactly, man. And you know, I just wanted to say, Enrico, you know, that Enrico X, that really breaks my heart, man. You know, thanks for sharing your journey. It really helps, you know, to put that perspective on it, to put that real face on what's going on out here. My dad grew up in foster care in Wilmington. He grew up pretty tough. He met his mom and his family and everybody, went to live with them around 12 years old. So amongst his sisters and brothers, he was one of the few to make it out of the struggle. And he broke his neck to build a life for me and my sister out here in Claymont. And even though I lost him 20 years ago, during those years I was blessed to have him, you know, he told me about how hard it was. You know, he gave me that perspective so that I wouldn't make those mistakes. My favorite cousin growing up, he did 3 years, right? When I was like 13 or 16, something like that. So, you know, every family, all of our families from our communities have been impacted by this. And I was a teacher for 8 years as well. I was a director of arts programming at the Claymont Boys and Girls Club, as well as the Browns Boys and Girls Club in Wilmington. I've had students locked up. I've had students get killed. And, you know, I wasn't a teacher that long ago, you know. And for me, it's important that, you know, when it comes to legislation, when it comes to representation, that we have somebody that's breaking bread with these individuals, somebody that, you know, understands, you know, what they've gone through from the perspective of being a family member, being a mentor, you know, being just a neighbor, man. And it's systemic. It's economic for me. Like, when you really look at everything, at the end of the day, there are people that can hustle up a gig. They can get a job. But when they're working 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet, it's the streets raising the kids, you know? You know, like you said, when somebody makes a mistake, gets into a little trouble or something, they're gone, and it's back to those streets raising their kids. These wolves don't teach people to go and get a clean job and work hard in school and everything. The wolves are going to eat you, or you got to become a wolf to defend yourself. It's bad out there. And, you know, my hat goes off to you advocates, like you warriors out there. And it's all about acting and doing something about it, you know? And that's what I love about this group. We're not here talking about it. You know, we're out here hitting the pavement and doing the work, you know? And for me, it's just important that we listen, that we talk, because when it comes time to make changes, we need to talk to the people that have actually been through it, that have gone through it. And, you know, I'm just really happy to be here. I'm happy to listen, happy to talk.
Enrico, I want to go back to you. So let's talk about the day that you were released from prison. So once you got out, was there concern about finding a job? Was there concern about where to live at? You know, was there concern about how you're going to survive?
No, sir. Actually, I was pretty fortunate, because if it was up to me, I wouldn't have left prison when I did, because they were trying to send me to work release, and I wanted to max my time out, finish my time out, then leave out. But fortunately, they had a different plan than I had. They forced me to go to work release. And in me going to work release, I met my wife. And I was working at Purdue, so I was pretty much being set up to be in a good position when I came home. So I was fortunate to have met my wife. And again, I really didn't have any barriers that was up against me when I came home, because I didn't allow a prison record to keep me from doing what I needed to do. Right. Unfortunately, I had an injury when I was working at Purdue, and that would really caused me to stop working at the time that I did. But with someone beside you, such as my wife, it allowed me to be able to go through the slight setback that I had. And that allowed me not to find myself going back into a life of crime. You know, I say what it is, life of crime, you know, hustling, selling drugs, or doing whatever I felt that I needed to do to get by, because I had a help me to help me meet and overcome those obstacles that I would have had if I didn't have her at that time. Right. If that answers your question.
Yes, definitely. I guess it was last Saturday. I was at the riverfront. I was working out, and the announcement came that we have a new president of the United States of America, Mr. Joe Biden, Delaware's own. Now, prior to him becoming president, Brother Ice Cube, hip hop artist, activist, decided to join others in terms of writing the Black agenda for whomever is going to be the president of the United States. So with you three gentlemen, I start off with Dre. Is there any issue of concern that you would like the president of the United States of America address in terms of the African-American community?
Most definitely. The number one concern is this problem we have with the police, and the police not being able to engage with the Black community, and not being able to understand, what's going on in the Black community. Some do, a lot don't, and even with the stuff we see on TV, on live camera with Black men being beaten and killed by the police. It's strange to me to see, the difference in how a white man is treated by the police versus a Black man. I mean, we all see it. Why does it have to be the Black man having to die? An unarmed Black man at that. We have to die as a result of whatever is going on, especially with an unarmed man who really doesn't pose a threat, but ends up dying at the hands of the police. I really want Joe Biden to really address that. I understand we have a lot of issues going on as far as the pandemic, as far as equality and systemic racism, but we definitely that has to happen soon with his presidency. I hope he doesn't get sidetracked. I really hope that Joe Biden takes the time and Kamala Harris takes the time to deal with systemic issues with Black people in this country. It has to be addressed. It has to be. I understand we got to get this pandemic under control, but that has to be top priority with us getting ahead, and our issues need to be addressed. And I really wish that Barack Obama had more time to do that. But Joe Biden and Kamala Harris has a chance to address issues.
Right. So let me stay with you for a moment in terms of relationship among African Americans and the police. I listened to a conversation the other day, and one of the things that was mentioned was that the police should go around the community and introduce themselves and interact with the community, because staying in those police cars, they're not really getting to know the community. So from your point of view, how do you think the relationship can improve with the police and the African American community?
This question for me?
Yeah, I followed up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, for one, what the police need to do is actually engage more with the community, talk more with people, get out and meet people instead of, driving around in the community, looking, for trouble, but, just meeting people and, get out on foot and get to know, the district that you're in, whatever district you're in, getting out, introducing yourself, meeting people, engaging with people, with Black men, asking them questions. Of course, if you have men out there that are wrongdoers and aren't doing the right thing, and are out loitering and not doing what they're supposed to do, as far as being a law-abiding citizen, we're gonna have issues. Now we also have to look at ourselves too, but as far as the police, they should have events in the community, just to get to know people, and just to be able to make it a better interaction with them. If you know people in the community, and when something does happen, you can reach out to this brother or that brother. You know what I mean? And then, maybe your job won't be so hard, and maybe, we won't have so many negative altercations, because if you know each other and you know the people, then I think things can go a lot more smoothly.
Okay, Enrico, are there any issues that you would like to see the new president and the new vice president address in terms of the African American community? Then I'm gonna go to you, Larry.
Well, for me, I have to come from my leader, my teacher, and my guide, which is the Honorable Minister Farrakhan. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad put forth an agenda that if we can't get justice in this country, then give us 8 to 7 states so that we can be separated as a people, that we be able to build and be free as a people. Because we have seen for 462 years now that they haven't given us that, or 465 years. So for us to look at what's going on, I think, again, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has presented to them what we should do or what should be done as a government, not giving justice and equality to a people. When I have no words of my own because I'm not a politician, I'm not in that position for me to, at this point, really speak on the president. So again, I can only speak what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has already put forth, and that is if we can't get equal justice as a people, then give us, what we need to be self-sufficient instead of depending on looking for the government to do it for us. The Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan has, for a few years now, has put an agenda before the government, the national agenda that we have to help with some of the solving of the problems for us as a people. But we need people to stop looking at the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as a song and a dance and just a speaker, and look at him the way other countries look at him and put forth what has been put forth to the government and get our people to back him, and then we'll be able to see the change that is needed for us as a people.
Great. Larry?
Yeah, I think that the feedback from Dre Kareem and Enrico X are outstanding. Those are some very important issues, and it's important to many. Like, they represent millions. For me, I think that all these issues need to be addressed. For me, to specifically answer your question about, an issue of priority, like a main issue, for me, it's really got to be economic. I served on the Remand Project with Dr. Morton, and one of the things that he says is that one of the strongest entities that we have is the intact family unit. At the end of the day, when we have, a father at home, when we have a mother at home, regardless of what the family unit is, as long as you have the parents at home with the child, that's everything. Now you're talking about that nurturing, that training, that understanding. Now you're talking about that education, that, financial understanding, your ethics, to Enrico X's point, your spirituality, all of that stuff. We need that. We're missing that. And what happens is when you have people busting their hump, so you mentioned the president, the national minimum wage is $7.25. The minimum wage in 1968, when you prorated for inflation, was the modern equivalent of almost $13 an hour. And you ask the question, how in the world is it that we can go from $13 an hour backwards to $7.25? And it's because there's way too much corporate interest mixed up with politics. At the end of the day, we need to make sure that if somebody's putting in work and making corporations, you take Amazon, for example, right? It's valued at $1 trillion now. Walmart's almost valued at $1 trillion. Why is it that people can work for these corporations for a season and get let go? Can work for these corporations and still qualify for state assistance? It's ridiculous. Give people the wages that they have earned. We're not asking for anything. What we need to do is to return the minimum wage to what it was the last time our economy worked for more of our families. I was born in 1980. Even I know that back in the 60s, the black family unit was a lot more solid. You had more parents in the home eating dinner with their kids. doing homework with the kids, fixing cars, learning how to fix up their house and everything. Now everybody is dying early. Environmental justice. The chronic stresses from being overworked, from the microaggressions of racism, from being scared when you interact with, with officials and everything. At the end of the day, there's so many issues, but I really think that economics, it gives parents the freedom to be back at home with their kids and to be able to nurture them and raise them and guide them into who they need to be. Frederick Douglass said it's easier to raise a child than it is to fix a broken man. Let parents be able to put in an honest week's work and come back and raise their child.
I definitely.
Definitely. You see why he got elected. But I'm gonna throw this question in the air while we're on the president and vice president. History was also made with Kamala Harris being the first woman of color to be vice president, to hold such a high position. Anyone, I'm gonna throw this question in the air. What are your thoughts on seeing a woman of color being the vice president?
I was honored, man. I was down there at the event on Saturday night, and that was a moment where I got a little bit emotional. When I was 20, I took on the responsibility of raising my little sister after our parents passed, and she was a sophomore in high school. And, I'm just so proud of her and how far she's come, and just thinking of, young women like her that, have dealt with loss, that have dealt with challenges and tragedies, and they get to see a lovely, wonderful symbol like that. It's amazing, I'm looking forward to her following up, with some real policies and helping in that regard. But I just, for our sisters out there, I just love it. It's so beautiful to now have another ceiling broken and to see another image that, you can do whatever you want. It's a beautiful thing.
Anyone else?
Yeah, when she was chosen by President-elect Biden, what I see from a lot of my friends and a lot of Black men, they throw their records up there and they go back to when, they were prosecutors, or when she was a prosecutor, and how many Black men and Black people she put in jail.
Mm-hmm.
She had to start somewhere to get where she's at now, and although we may disagree, with her past employment or what she did back then, that she contributed to a lot of Black men being incarcerated, whether Joe Biden's 94 crime bill contributed to that. They are there now. They're in a position now to right their wrongs. It wasn't going to stop me from voting for them, because we know currently what we have is not good. You mentioned Ice Cube. I read over his plan, and he had some good things that he had in his plan and everything. And I really think some of the things he had to say should be addressed and should be definitely implemented. And hopefully Vice President Harris and President-elect Biden sits down with Ice Cube and talks to him about some of his ideas that he has. He definitely brought up some good points, but I think we should give them the chance. The people spoke, the people voted. They're going to be upcoming in January, the president and the vice president, and we hope that they do the right things and that their policies will help us and bring plenty of opportunity for Black people to rise up and have more opportunities. I definitely agree with I'm sorry, the brother that just spoke, I forgot his name.
Larry.
Yeah, Larry. Congratulations also. I just want to say congratulations to you for the position, for being voted in.
Thank you.
And economics, yes. the minimum wage definitely needs to be raised. I know I work 2 jobs, 2 and 3 jobs sometimes, and you know, I definitely wish I had more time with my family, with my children. But you know, I gotta pay the bills, so you know, we gotta make that sacrifice. But it's the black family. I came up in the 70s and 80s, and the black family was a lot closer. You know, fortunately I had my grandma and everything, but I'll be 48 next month. And it seems like every year, it seems like we grow further and further apart instead of
Yep.
closer. And I know when they start busing us, I was in elementary school. That hurt the black community a lot. I remember I grew up across the street from PS2 Pond. And I just remember black unity, growing up and seeing black unity. And, you know, when all the high schools, all the city kids, all the black kids were together, and they broke that up with desegregation, you know, and then they bust us all out in the suburbs, and that hurt us tremendously. You know, that hurt the black community a whole lot. I would love to see that come back. I would love to see that unity, black children being able to go to school with each other and learn together and grow together. And, you know, I really think that that's needed in this country. And black history also needs to be taught from elementary on up to 12th grade, not having to college, because we need to know who we are as a people to be successful.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we can go to college and learn more, but we need to know from elementary, from first grade, start from first grade, young black children need to know who they are and where they come from, and the true story, and not just what the United States government wants us to know and learn. You know, don't leave our history out. You gotta include our history.
You know, you mentioned a key word, which is unity. Enrico mentioned at the top of the program about the Million Man March, October 16th, 1995. Over 1 million men from across the United States of America, maybe even across the world, I'm not sure. But it was a great day of unity. And sometimes, you know, trying to get African Americans together today, as Dre was saying, it's kind of difficult because of egos, personalities, ideologies. Enrico, you come from the Nation of Islam, which talks about unity, you know, on their platform. So I'm gonna start off with you if anyone else wants to chime in. Why is it that we as African Americans have so much difficulty? When I say we, not all of us, but a good number of us. Why is it so hard for us to come together and unite despite our differences, whether it be religious, political, ideological, come together as a whole to address the issues that need to be addressed in the community?
Whether this was a plan or this was something that was instituted when this country was founded. See, they give us a history from 1619. But we know the first slave ships that came across here, across the seas, and landed in Jamestown, Virginia, landed here in 1555, so teaches the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So there was a 64-year gap that they don't teach us about, where they were breaking the slave. They was breaking us from knowing our culture, our religion, our God, our names, where we came from. Anyone that spoke the language of our ancestors was murdered. They were killed. They were put before the people and they were beaten. They were hanged. Different things that was done to us was showing and breaking us as a people. Because if you put the biggest man on the plantation before the people and you beat him and he's screaming out, do you think that the next man or next woman that comes up after them are going to want that same punishment when you've been looking up to this other individual as the strongest individual on the plantation? So anyone that would name or that would say the names of our ancestors or the language of our ancestors, they would murder. And you bring that up through our history where they didn't want us to learn. They didn't want us to go to school. They didn't want us to read. You know, they give us the history of Nat Turner when he was put before the people, when he started learning the wisdom of the book, it started changing his character as a man. So if they knew that us knowing who we was would bring us together and make us rebel against a system that was sticking an educational needle in our brain and making us other than who we should be, which were gods, because the scriptures say ye are all gods, children of the Most High God. So if they took that out of us and they made sure that we couldn't identify with the God, that the creator, that we that breathed life into us as individuals, and we can't speak the language, we can't feel the spirit of our brother being our brother, our sister being our sister. So we look at Sister Camilla and we say, or we should be saying, that we pray to the Most High that our sister is not murdered, that our sister is not harmed when she is put in one of the highest seats in this country. So some of us may not agree with her history, but we have to back her because she has made a step in this country that we live in, that our young daughters and our children can now see, as our brother Barack Obama did, become one of those individuals that has broken a barrier, that our children can say, well, I can come up and I can be whatever I want to be, other than a basketball player, a singer, a dancer. You know, we can put our children up in a better light of understanding that you can be something other than an entertainer. And that is something that divides us as a people, because we might not like certain individuals because the way they dance, because the way they dress, because of the way they comb their hair. Those were some of the things that Willie Lynch used, separate them because of their age, their color, their skin, their class, and these things are things that break that unity that you speak of. So that's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, he said that our unity is stronger than an atomic bomb. So that's why they keep us divided. They use little small things that we think are minute things that are really big things, because as a people, if we were all on the same wavelength, we could take over the country, not in a foolish way, but in a way that we can bring balance to ourselves in this country as a people. But until we come together and stop looking at each other, because I may be Muslim, I may be Christian, I may be nothing as far as religious prudence, until we stop looking at each other like that and understand that we all have the same enemy, which is those who oppress us and keep us from being able to get up off of our couches, because they put before us these video games, these videos, or these TV shows that rock us to sleep. So as long as they keep sticking these needles in our brains, subliminally giving us these messages that divide us as a people, until we stop allowing this stuff to infiltrate our homes, infiltrate our children, infiltrate our wives, our husbands, because when you have a house divided, you have a world that is divided. Because if the house is not strong, then when you go outside of your home, you take that same mindset outside of your home into the street. And then you have what is called a dysfunctional family, not just your family structure in your home, but your dysfunctional family as a country. So that's some of what we have to get back to as a people, is understanding that we have to give our children a better chance. And that is giving them education outside of what they're used to getting, so that they can understand who they are and who they can be as a people. Thank you.
I'd like to say something.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I just like everything, it can't go through the political system. It has to start with community. I know a lot of Black educators, and I talk to them, I ask them questions. And one of the questions I had, for one, I said, why isn't there every Black educator in the country, every Black teacher across this country, in every state, why aren't they representing a caucus or a group pushing for that change, that systemic change in education, where Black history can be taught, and we can know our history? And they say there isn't one, but there needs to be one. There needs to be a group of Black educators that come together to make changes in education, to make sure that in every city across this country that we can compete, or we can have the same things that all these other charter schools and schools that have everything they need to give their children, that chance to be successful and to, grow and go on to post-education after high school. I had, listened to Joe Biden, how, he said that, there would be, free education for all students, for community colleges, around the country, that they wouldn't have to pay, and have these high, tuition bills and things. I really hope that happens. Like I said, other than, the politicians in our districts, and, from the, the low level all the way up to, the president, we have to really push for education and the things that we need in our schools, for schools in the cities that don't have everything that they need to be, competitive with everybody else. And it just needs to happen. It's time for that change to happen. And that's what I pray that, Vice President Harris make sure, and President Biden make sure it happens, with their, administration. We'll see. We know that, they only get 4 years, and hopefully, another 4 years, but we will see soon. It shouldn't take long within their time frame, if they're going to, really do what they say they're going to do. All we can do is, we spoke at the polls, we made our votes, and I know we got a lot to fight up against. We got to fight against, certain things and principalities that are high, that want to stop us, that don't want to see the Black community rise. I would hate for things to go back into the Republicans' hands, because they're not concerned with our plight. They're not concerned with us being successful. They want to keep their knees on our necks like they're doing, and they want to continue to not see us not grow. And I hopefully, the minimum wage can be raised so we can be home, and parents can be home to help educate their children. It does. They say it all starts at home. It does. And hope, more Black parents can be home with their kids to make sure that they can, get all the things that they need to be successful.
Okay.
Larry, can I say something before you?
Oh. Yes. Go ahead. Yep.
In the scripture, it says, never will Allah change the condition of a people until they change it themselves, or they change what is in their heart. What we have to do is we have to stop depending on our open enemy or the government to think for us. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us the University of Islam. If we was to come together as a people and back that structure of education, then we wouldn't need to keep asking for any president or any government to give us an education that we already have. All we have to do is get behind the educational system that has been proven to work and give our children a fighting chance outside of a structure or educational system that's not going to give you Black history, that's not going to give you what we think is needed to further the education.
Okay, Larry, you have any comments?
Yeah, I appreciate all of that feedback, gentlemen, and I really couldn't agree more. When I look at unity, why don't we have more unity? For me, African Americans are unity. We invented unity in this country. Like when you look at, what governed us in unblemished Africa and the motherland, it was the idea of Mayat, balance, unity, justice, integrity, truth, when we came here in the bowels of slave ships, wooden vessels of hell floating on water, we came into the institution of chattel slavery. That institution was unique to the Americas. You're talking about an institution where human beings owned and raped human beings, and then owned and raped their bastard offspring with those human beings. If you come from a place of unity, if unity is what governs you, and you go through that institution, one of the ways you process that trauma is to become that oppressor, is to practice the culture of your oppressor, So, they call that internalized dominance, internalized inferiority. So one of the reasons why we have a lack of unity in some spaces is because of what we went through. It's post-traumatic slave syndrome. So we look at spaces where we've shown unity. In the 1960s, we had the free breakfast program that started out in Oakland. That led to the free school lunch program that low-income children enjoy all across the country now. You look at the Civil Rights Act that we advocated for, and it got passed in '64. That Civil Rights Act spread into, women being able to be pilots, women being able to be politicians. It spread well beyond us. We are unity. We brought unity, even though we came through the institution of chattel slavery. What we need is for these institutions that aren't benefiting us, that aren't helping us, is to, like Brother Dre Kareem said, is to get off of our necks, We just need space to be who we are. We are love. We are unity. We need space to get back to that. Look at what's happening now. We're literally on a Zoom call about unity. You feel me? This is what it is. We each interact with programs that are about unity and balance and love. We are love. We're love manifest. And even though I'm presenting in a way with a heightened level of passion, we all understand where I'm coming from. It's love, baby. Let's do this thing. Let's make sure we're building in the right direction. And the gentlemen are right. It's not about politics. It's about community. It's about doing what we need to do. In some spaces, politics can be used to make sure that our families have enough breathing room to be who they need to be, to return back to the elements of what we need, So, I love this. I love this conversation, and I love how, even after this call, we'll be able to interact and help each other's families, each other's communities. That's what I think about unity.
Right. We spoke earlier, earlier about the relationship among African and police, in particular African-American men. Unfortunately, there was an incident, about 4 weeks ago in Philadelphia, where a gentleman was suffering mental illness, was shot and killed, unfortunately, by the police. There was the George Floyd situation, and there were situations before that. And what these situations has developed as of recently, over the last several years, is the Black Lives Matter movement. We've seen the Black Lives Matter movement here locally, seen in Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago, everywhere. So I just want to ask you men, as Black men, African-American men, whatever terms you want to use, what is your take on the social movement of the day in terms of the Black Lives Matter movement? Do you support it? Do you think it needs improvement? Do you disapprove of it? Let's start with Dre.
I definitely support it. I really wish it was a different name though. I don't know exactly what the name could be or should be. It definitely, I think it's going to evolve. It's definitely going to evolve. And that may happen. A new name may become up of it, but it's definitely a start because, people misconstrued it and try to twist it and turn it. Black Lives Matter. We start saying Black Lives Matter because it seems as though Black lives don't matter with what's happening. Just what I explained earlier, as far as Black men being unarmed, being choked to death over small, misdemeanor things that you would get a misdemeanor for. There's no way that man should have died for selling Lucy cigarettes. He got choked to death right on camera. We all seen it. You
Right.
know, and Eric Garner, rest in peace, brother. You know, I think about all these young brothers, starting from Trayvon Martin on Walter Scott on up, man, just all of them, man. They died. They died, and you know that can't keep happening. Even here in Delaware, the brother that died in the wheelchair,
And bam.
he got shot by a firing squad. You know, and that brother was in the wheelchair. That didn't have to happen like it did. That was a very violent death. You know,
Jeremy.
and you know, but Black Lives Matter, I definitely want to see it grow. I definitely think it's a good thing. It definitely has to grow and evolve and be something else. And I hope they stay on track with it. I hope more people get involved with Black Lives Matter, and I hope that you know, the politicians also will help Black Lives Matter use their platform too, you know, and grow and help to make change in this country with reform. It has to happen because, you know, it's like a powder keg. It's a powder keg right now. Just imagine we still got to go through the trials for those police officers out in Minnesota. You know, and just imagine what's going to happen, even with the current the administration that's about to come in 2020. It's not going to matter if they go to court in Minnesota and any of them cops get off, especially the one who held his knee on the neck of George Floyd.
Right.
If he gets off, if that sentence is unjust and he gets off, do you know this country is going to go up? I really think it is. If those cops get off for that heinous crime they committed on national TV in front of people, in front of citizens that are hollering and screaming in their faces, you killing the man. You killing him. And they killed him. But just imagine when that trial happens and the results of that trial aren't what they should be, it's going to be a problem here. It really is. And I hope and pray that justice will be served. I really do. They all out on bail right now, all on May bail, not in jail, walking around. George Floyd's family is suffering, along with all the other Black families that are suffering from police brutality and police killings. You know, but Black Lives Matter, I hope it grows to a really large proportion and everybody gets involved with it. And it just doesn't go by the wayside. We definitely have to keep, you know, working towards, you know, promise and justice for all of us.
Enrico.
Yes, sir. To piggyback off of brother, Black Lives Matter was cried by mothers that was hurting from the pain of losing their sons. What happened was you had some individuals that got behind it and put money behind it to take it away from the meaning and the purpose for what it really was. And that was the cry of those mothers who wanted justice for their babies, for their children, for their sons, for their daughters that were being murdered senselessly in the streets. Not so much at that time by the hands of the police, but by us as a people. That we have to understand, again, until we come together as a people, we're not going to get that change that we're looking for, because we have to be willing to stand up to get in between the guns and the beefs that we see in our community. We have to be willing to go into these communities so that we don't have to look for the police to go into our community to do what we have to do. So until we get out into our communities and stand up as men that love our communities, then you're going to continually to ask the question, or you're going to hear the chant, Black Lives Matter. But
this is a question. I don't mean to interrupt you, brother.
Sir.
Can I just need to ask you this question though.
Yes, sir.
Why is it that when we know the problems that we have in our community amongst each other. Okay, we know
Yes,
we know we need to do better. We know we need to unify. But why is it when a black man dies unjustly by a white cop, the first thing that come out of their mouth is, well, they killing each other? Okay, I can say this. I know systemically we dealing with some serious problems in the black community. We know we got some in-house, things that we need to clean up. I know that. We all know that. But we still cannot let any outsider be able to murder us the way that they're murdering us in the streets. So that's part of the unification of us. I think that's really a part of the unification of us. We got to take care of each other from other people taking us out, and we got to take care of each other from each other taking each other out.
yes, sir.
It's both. It's both. Both of them are important. Both of them are important, but because of the civil rights era and everything, us being hoses, dogs sicked on us, dogs biting us, that's been going on for so long and so much longer, and then throughout the years as we've grown, as we've gotten older, we see each other coming apart from each other when we need to be like this. You know what I mean? If we come like this, if we can get like this and stay like this, then we can fight. We can be a stronger force against those white cops that's out here killing us. Those white Klansmen with police badges, the ones with the Trump flags in their trucks riding around. You know what I mean? Instilling fear in people. You know what I mean? It's though that's all allowed in America. They call them patriots. They call them patriots. They can go to stay in Michigan at government buildings with ARs, 15s, ready to shoot. They plotted to kidnap the governor. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, it was on the news and everything, but that's just you see the difference. You see the difference. You see the difference how a white man can just do that, but a black man, that's the first thing come out their mouth when they do something to us. Oh, they kill each other. Yeah, white men kill each other too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But we gotta take care of us. We gotta unify. We gotta come together. We have to, because they definitely got their militias and everything. They unified. You know what I mean? I bet you if Trump gave the word for them to go out and start acting up, what they gonna do? They gonna listen, because they stick together. But we got to stick together the same way. We the ones who have to turn the other cheek. We the ones who got to learn and stick by what they wrote in the Bible or whatever. You know what I mean? We the ones who have to adhere to all the rules. You know what I'm saying? But they can break all the rules. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not a racist. I'm not. I just love my people. I love black people. I love all of us. And I know we know we have our issues too. We need to do some in-house cleaning, but we need to protect each other too. We have to protect each other.
Right. Let me go back to Enrico. Let him finish.
Yes, sir. When you say that, beloved, I have to put before you, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan asked us several times, brother. The first time was in 1996 at the Million Man March. He asked us to come back as men and take responsibility for our community. Then he did it again in 10-10-15 in Washington, D.C. And he asked us again to come back into our communities to get in between the beast and the gun as men. So until we stand up in our community as men, they're going to continually to do what they do to us, because there are no strong men and women that are unified. I'm not going to put the women in it, because I don't want my woman in the fight. I want, if something happened to me, I want to be able to get bandaged up, because we're going to need that. But we already have been given the plan that is needed to defend our community. And that is getting out into our communities. And what we're doing right now is we're speaking on what needs to be done. So when we go out into the community as men and we talk to these young people and let them know what's going on in our community and give them an explanation of why the police are doing what they're doing, is because if they don't see unity among us as a people, they're going to think that they can keep getting away with it. But if they don't see unity amongst us as a whole, they're going to keep mauling us down in the street. Because you have some brothers and sisters that are on those police forces that's not standing up because they are in a uniformed group of people that are standing together because that's their job. But what if we stand together as men and go into our communities and let the people know that there are some new sheriffs in town? There are some new kind of men in town that are willing to go into the community, because most of those young brothers and sisters that's out in the community, all they need is the right voice and the right men that they know that love them and that's willing to go out into the community and speak to them. Then they won't allow the police to come into the community or allow the police to keep doing what they're doing. They can do what they're doing because we aren't unified, and our people don't have enough confidence in their brother that's standing beside them to defend them because they don't have self-love. When we get self-love, then we'll be able to chant Black Lives Matter because it'll really mean something to it. But we can't chant Black Lives Matter out of an emotion. We have to chant Black Lives Matter because that's really what's in our heart as a people. And that, I'm not going to, take up all the time, but that once we come together as a people, brother, Black Lives Matter will be not just a slogan.
Yeah, I think both of you gentlemen are basically saying the same thing. Oh, go ahead, Larry. Go ahead.
I just want to say that this dialogue right here is super valuable. We have four men, coming from different perspectives, having a discourse, and I love it. Like, this is what it's all about, building. If I may, with all due respect, Enrico X, I might push back just a little drop. So it seems like a part of what you're saying is insinuating that if we were more unified, we might not be having some of these issues that ignited the Black Lives Matter movement. So my response to that is, were we not unified in Tulsa, Oklahoma? Were we not unified in Rosewood, Florida?
Right.
These situations, the way that these systems, these institutions interact with us hasn't been going for decades. It's been centuries. It's been from the start of all of this. There's no more unified than we were back when we had, the little Africas in Philadelphia, like I said, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Rosewood, Greenwood, North Carolina. I mean, you're talking about the textbook definition of unity. I mean, if you had an image of it in a dictionary, it would be Greenwood, North Carolina. They got treated the same way that George Floyd got treated, the way Ahmaud Arbery got treated, the way that Breonna Taylor got treated. So I do want you to know that everything that you're saying, I agree with. The stand, the energy, the passion that you're coming from is love. I agree with that. Self-accountability, self-discipline, all of that is in order. But we just have to recognize the truth, It doesn't matter what we do. A lot of these institutions are going to keep moving the way that they're moving, and the way that we got into this situation was through full spectrum dominance. We need to approach it from that same standpoint. It's going to take us being unified. It's going to take our family units in order. It's going to take politicians to push back on our side. It's going to take activists doing what they do, peacefully demonstrating in the streets. It's going to take the same energy, the same spectrum of effort to get this in order. as you know what they started out with in Tulsa and Greenwood. So you know, that's why I love beautiful conversations like this. You know, this is about building, and I want to thank you, Omar, for this opportunity, for this format. You know, you've been doing it for years, bro, and we really appreciate it.
I appreciate that, man. I just love the network. I love bringing people together. You know, this once again, this is a conversation with color, and I want to ask each of you men, since the focus is on men, are there any men or one particular man out there that is a role model to you, help influence you in making the positive brother that you are today? Let's start with Dre.
There's just more. There's more than one. I have friends who are businessmen that I look up to. I can't just really say there's really one. It's a group. It's a group of guys that I really look up to, and I look for inspiration and encouragement. I can definitely say Malcolm X is probably the biggest inspiration for me. You know, I still watch Malcolm X. I go on YouTube all the time, and it's just something about him that just sets a fire up in me to do better, to you know, seek more answers and ask more questions and learn. Now, I'm gonna definitely say this. Now, I'm tending to move further away from politicians, especially those in the community, because it seems like it's about an ego, it's about them, it's about the individual, and not collectively about their brothers. You know what I mean? It's like a competition, a jealousy thing, and I'm just being honest with you. It's a competition and jealousy thing in this city of Wilmington, and it has to stop. The competition and egotistical Black man in Wilmington, y'all have to stop. And I ain't mentioning no names. I ain't naming nobody's name, but they know who they are. And it's some of our leaders in the political field. You know what I mean? You gotta come together. You gotta stop all this individual stuff. Competition and what you got and what I ain't got. All that materialistic stuff, it has to go out the door, because we all going to die one day, and we can't take it. Yeah, we can leave behind our stuff for our children and our families, but the main point is to have unity in a better world and a better community for our children to grow up in. You know what I mean? We got to get back to that. You know, the politicians in the city of Wilmington really need to get off of this egotistical thing. You know, I understand politics. I understand, you know, all the backstabbing stuff that goes on with it. And, you know, you want to run this, I want to run that, or whatever. But, you know, it really comes across, your true colors show. You know what I mean? And you got to stop it. You got to stop it. You got to come together. You got to, you know, you in leadership. But I don't expect those in leadership to have all the answers, because, you know, it's men like me, the hardworking man, because I go to work every day. The hardworking man like you know, we all got to come together and we got to build. We got to, you know, I love this platform and this conversation that Omar has, and I'm honored to be on here and to be able to speak, you know, and listen. I'm also a listener too. I like to listen to other people's ideas and what's going on. And the politicians, they can't run it all. So, you know, we got to strategically, you know, strategize and get together and figure out, you know, how we bring, you know, the brothers and sisters together and get rid of all this jealousy and hate amongst each other to grow and to be progressive and to win. You know what I mean? We got to win together. We got to build, and we're going to get somewhere. We got to be together.
Okay, Enrico, is there a particular role model out there that helped shape you to be the man that you are today, that you come to admire?
Yes, sir. There are several. Of course, growing up, it was my older brothers. In the beginning of my life, it was my older brothers. Of course, going into the prison institution, there were several brothers that helped. They didn't know it, but they helped shape and mold my thinking and me as an individual. One of those brothers, or two of those brothers, was James X. Wilson and George X. Robinson, at that time, but George X now. Coming out of prison, then I was able to meet a brother named Rodney Muhammad out of out of Philadelphia. And then a brother named Fred Muhammad. And then, of course, now Brother Robert Muhammad out of Mosque number 35 in Wilmington. But to top all of them off, I would be niggardly or neglected my duty if I didn't mention the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because when I was in prison, I wrote a article or an essay in my class, and it said, "What man would you like to meet in the world and have dinner with?" I had never even looked into the teachings of the Nation of Islam at that time, but just for some reason, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was the name that was given, and I got a A+ on that essay in my class, getting my GED. Coming out of course, the institution, and then, of course, now I would have to say the most influential person is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because he is my teacher and guide at this point in my life.
Okay. Hey, Larry?
Yeah, man. Thank you for that question. And I just wanted to quickly touch base with what Dre Kareem was saying about, politicians and just being tired of it. That was one of the reasons why I ran for office. It was just so much, man. And at the end of the day, when we talk about self-accountability, which has been one of the themes today, you have to be the change you want to see in the world. Sometimes when you're sick and tired of seeing what's going on, you're like, yo, the community asked me to run, local nonprofits, local mom and pop businesses asked me to run. Yo, why don't I take a shot at it? I'm not satisfied with what's going on. The status quo isn't working out for people that are from where I'm from, people that look like me. So I gave it a shot, and we came up 86 votes shy in 2018. We kept fighting, we never gave up, and we won by 18%, this year. So for me, being a freshman legislator, it really is about not doing what's happened in the past and changing this thing, coming from a different perspective. And in regards to who are some of the who's one of the leaders I look up to, I'm so tempted to go through history, all of those wonderful leaders. I'm tempted to mention, a whole bunch of people in my life now, but I'm going to keep it basic. The man I'm named after, my namesake, Larry Lambert Sr., my hero. On December 1st, it'll make 20 years without him and 20 years with him. And I'm just so honored the years that I had with him. I mean, they were everything. He gave me the foundation of conducting myself like a man, handling my business, solidarity, unity, focus. I would also say some of my local mentors, Ron Handy, 25-year director at the Boys and Girls Clubs of Delaware. He was a mentor to hundreds of us, if not thousands of us, from Wilmington to Claymont and Newcastle. Reverend Twin B. Brown, who I know Omar, right. A local legend when it comes to cable TV. He essentially introduced Delaware to, cable TV way ahead of its time. And he took me under my wing when I was 17 and I wanted to learn communications and everything. I would also mention my big brother Clayton, my cousin Greg. Yeah, man, those are definitely my heroes. And my big brother Gordon, who passed away in '95. I had 14 great years with him.
Right. Okay, gentlemen. So, in closing, does anyone have any closing comments? Running short on time, so we're just gonna say 1 minute each. Please keep it in 1 minute.
Yeah, I just want to say again, gentlemen, it's an honor to be here. When we talk about heroes in the community, I would mention you guys too. You know, I look up to what you do, but I want to speak on behalf of the young men that you influence, the young men whose lives you touch. You know, I honor you guys. Thank you for all you do out there. In regards to if anyone wants to get to know me better, you can find me on Facebook. My email is, my website is larry4delaware.com. That's FOR. And also to my constituents in the wonderful 7th District, that is the brand new 100 Claymont and the Ardens. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. My number is 302-408-0901. Larry Lambert. Very nice to meet you guys.
Okay, Dre.
I just want to say that I appreciate being on this platform. I look forward to meeting you guys in person and linking up with you guys and learning more from you. Learning, you know, how I can be better and how I can get more involved with things that need to be done, because I just don't want to talk about it and not be about it. You know, I just want to be able to make an impact and help somebody else and have somebody help me to reach out to somebody else. It's just a good thing. I mean, I'm glad I was on tonight. I'm glad I'm able to express myself, you know, and you know, I look forward to you know, hooking up with brothers that are sharpen me up. You know what I mean? And whatever I have to offer, you know, I can give to them. You know what I mean? But it's a good thing, and you know, God bless all of y'all.
All right, thank you. And last but not least, Enrico.
Yes, sir. Again, Brother Lambert, I would like to thank you and congratulate you for you gaining the seat that you gained. Brother Kareem,
Thank you.
meeting you as well. And of course, my cousin, Brother Omar, I thank you, brother, for opening up this platform to be able to have brothers from different counties connect and speak the way we speak, and because most of the time we wouldn't be able to do this, because we don't work always in the same circle. So I thank you guys, and I hope that we can all come together again and do this again, because that subject is a broad subject and we still have things to cover. That need to be done for our brothers and even our sisters that are in finding themselves in the prison industrial complex. And I thank you, Brother Omar, for giving us this platform to know each other and gain a perspective of better thinking.
And I'd let those know who are watching that Bash Turner was scheduled to come this evening to be one of the guests, but unfortunately something happened last minute. He couldn't make it, so we want to give a blessing to him and his family. Thank you, brothers, for joining us tonight. Those who are watching, like, subscribe, and share. God bless. And you gentlemen, be safe.
Peace.
Good evening, gentlemen.